on the chat box. We're really excited to do that. So let's get started. So when thinking about testing, really what you want to start with is a cultural mindset of how you're going to actually test. And oftentimes people think about, well, should I test this? Should I test that? Where can I go? What can I do? They get overwhelmed by the just huge range of options that they can test on their app. And rightfully so. It's really exciting. Once you start understanding all the different tests that you can make, you become a kid in a candy store. You really just want to go in there and test everything. And that's great. We're really excited about that enthusiasm that we see testers get once they start testing. But what we like to advocate as a methodology really is, or a philosophy even, is starting with the objective of your app. What is it that you're really trying to do? Both on two levels. One, on your level as a company, what are your objectives? Is it engagement? Are you trying to increase retention? Are you driving transactions or the delivery of ads? And also, it's really important, Lynn, to not forget the user in this as well. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have the user, you really have nothing out there. So remember, what is the user coming to your app to achieve? That's something that I feel a lot of people can easily overlook.
Absolutely, AbdulAziz.
So let's shift a little bit on the screen to the right side and think about this cycle of testing. And it all begins with a hypothesis. What is it? What is your gut telling you around your engagement, around your retention? What are you feeling inside? What do you think could be a driver to increase those metrics? You design that test, you see the results, and you modify that hypothesis. It really is a cycle. It's never going to be where you've reached one point where you've tested everything. So oftentimes we see a lot of people, the results will inform or create new test ideas. So get ready for that. If testing is gonna be one of the core elements of your competitive advantage, which we believe that winning apps, it's definitely a core pillar. Don't let that, don't be blindsided by that cycle effect that you're gonna have to engage in. It's not gonna be just linear. It is gonna be a repeated process.
Absolutely. And one other thing that you would probably want to think about is to bring on team members into this process. Once you've had a test and you've seen some results and you're reiterating on your hypothesis, bring in other team members who have other ideas, and you just keep on iterating, and that's how you build that culture of experimentation that leads to
Yep.
really great apps.
Exactly. It's this idea of a cross-functional team, and everyone from the team brings a slightly different perspective, and that perspective can be enlightening. The product people thinking about the product, the engineers thinking about development considerations. It really is a collaborative effort. And what we have here is thinking about those broader objectives along transaction, engagement, and retention. We've come up with just a kind of a laundry list, if you will, of core areas to think about when you're testing. And these again are just the really the basics when you're thinking about your login, how are people entering or logging into the actual screen, how are they signing up, thinking about how is your app being personalized, how can users customize their experience to your app, and then share those experiences with other people to really bring in people. That really drives both retention and engagement. You'll see on that left side, oftentimes those objectives aren't mutually exclusive. You might be optimizing for one of those tests or one of those objectives, but you definitely want to maximize on the other objectives that you're serving. Again, with menu and features, making sure that it's very easy to navigate and that people, again, your users' objectives are being accomplished. And thinking about page layout, are you promoting your own objectives as you want to? Same with messaging and copying, and the copy that you put in there. Are the call to actions clear? Are the messages clear? And those are the things that you want to be thinking about. Again, this is just a laundry list. We're happy to send this out for your reference later on, just to get you started on what is it that you can test. Let's now dive into the if you're not doing these tests, then there are some tests that you just it's almost unexcusable that you're not doing these tests, Lynn. Let's jump into it. We want to make things easy to remember. We've come up with the ABCs. When you were thinking about actually speaking and writing words, you started out with the basic blocks, the ABCs. And here for testing, we have the ABCs for you as well. What are the ABCs? A, arrangement, your layout. How are people going through the app experience on a particular page? That means dealing with the various element positioning and maximizing around, again, your objectives. Driven or linked right next to that is a hierarchy of importance. Are you putting in the most important elements at the top of the page? It's really easy for those really crucial engagement moments to be lost in the busyness of a page. And speaking about busyness, do you need everything on that page? Is it mission critical, or are you being cluttered? So oftentimes, just removing or hiding particular aspects can really drive attention of a user to one or two particular areas. Let's move on to the B's, the buttons. There's so much to do here, Lynn. I mean, we could have a webinar just on
We
buttons.
could absolutely have a webinar just on example experiments around buttons.
And I mean, where do I begin? Just look at the basics. Anything that you see, the color, the size, the icon. Is it promoting the right type of action, the right emotion? Is it contrasting well with the rest of the elements on the page? These are all things that we, as designers, as product people, think about when we first create the product. But there's a revision. Your app grows, it changes, it evolves. Your user base does the same thing. And if you're not changing with it, well, you're missing out on some really great opportunities. And finally, the copy, the messaging and marketing, the calls to action, and even just the basics like instructions. Do people know what they want to, what they're supposed to be doing with the app? Again, oftentimes I feel like it's very easy, just given how many other things we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, to do this once and then kind of shelf it and say, oh, well, we're done with that exercise. We kind of rub our hands together. But actually, no, there's a lot that you can be doing with that.
Absolutely. I think that copy is by far, it's just so incredibly rich in how much you can iterate on copy. And little words here and there really impact the way your customers are thinking, the way that your users are approaching different pages on your app and approaching different calls to
Yeah.
action. And there's a lot of iterative improvements that you can make in your app just on copy alone. And we'll show you some examples right now.
Let's do that. And just before we jump in there, I want to remind everyone that if you have questions, comments, please definitely raise your hand, send us a question, send us a chat. We're happy to engage with you. And let's do that. Let's jump into the actual examples that we have. Let's start with the copy and thinking about what are those call to actions and how do they impact performance. Right now, this is an example of a client that sells gift cards that you can essentially give as gifts. And hey, everyone likes to receive a gift card. It's essentially a way for you to buy your own gift. And what they have is essentially when they're going to they allow their users to log in so that they can have a collection of gift cards. So maybe they have
Customized gift cards.
Customize, exactly. So customize in terms of the look, the actual message on the gift card, and even the location in which that gift card is being delivered from. So the store sponsoring the gift card. And what they had on the left side is their original login screen. And that was a way for people to actually save that collection of gift cards. On that screen, all they had was a very plain login. It's factual, you understand that this is a place where you go in to your account. But what was missing was the meaning or the reason, the motivation behind that login. When they changed that one phrase from login to save your cards, they saw a bump of 15% in logins and cards being saved. Now, it's amazing to me. I'm constantly amazed that the human psychology is that influential or influence that okay,
Yeah,
there you go.
influential.
In the sense that it's so easy to influence your users by such a small change. Just again highlighting the benefit of doing the action drove the performance in a pretty significant way. And again, it's just changing three words.
It was incredibly easy. This test took about 5 minutes for our customer to set up. And you can tell they had a really great lift just by this test alone. And what they're thinking about now is how can they iterate on this page and other pages with copy. And copy changes are just so easy because you don't need to do any programming to change the copy.
Yep.
And testing this takes seconds. And now they're thinking about, well, since Save Your Cards is a great label at the top, do they need the second label that says Save Your Cards and see your delivery status? Maybe it becomes redundant now, and then that's a new test. And then maybe testing whether or not you need the email button there as well, or you need the Facebook button there as well. It becomes an iterative process where they're constantly improving and they're getting that metric of logins, and which equates to engagement and retention as well for them. And that's really getting their goals up.
And again, to your point, you change 3 words and then you start wondering, what else? What else could I be changing? What else could I be doing? How else could I be improving the experience of my user? Again, focusing on the user objective and also achieving my own personal objective.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Let's move on. We've covered C. That's cool. Now let's do something bodacious. I don't know if anyone uses that.
Bodacious.
Let's go for B. Let's talk about buttons. Here we have an app in which you can think about it as a way of people trying to meet other people. And the way that it works is essentially you see a profile of an individual, and on the left side, the original side, you either give them a thumbs up, okay, I want to meet this person, or you say, you know what, it's just not for me, and you move on to the next person by engaging the thumbs down button. The product manager here, this is my understanding, fill me if I'm wrong, just in their heart of hearts believed that a heart was an icon that would just see a huge increase in engagement. That was their gut speaking to them.
Well, it made sense to them at the time, right? Because a heart indicated the benefits of the application. You're finding love, you're finding that special someone, and they really thought that changing the thumbs up icon into a heart was going to be really great.
It makes sense. I mean, when I think about meeting someone special, I automatically get those images of heart, and I also think about the impact of my bank account. But that's another thing, and it makes a lot of sense. But what happened here is that when they made that change, when they did the test, they found that the user engagement decreased by 6%, and that's going to happen. Not every test that you see is going to be successful. And that's something that, as a testing community, I'm not sure how much we talk about, but that's an important discovery. That took a feeling. You went from the realm of the gut to the realm of knowledge by being data driven.
And thank God they tested it, because they were so close to just implementing this straight out.
Yeah.
And then they talked to some users afterwards, and they realized that the reason why the heart shape actually probably underperformed the thumbs plus was that it indicated some type of love commitment that a lot of users weren't willing to or didn't feel comfortable indicating as they're swiping through these images. So it's kind of interesting, because we think about, this is an Asian app, by the way, and we think about some of the apps that we have in the US that have a very similar model, and it makes me wonder if they've tested it at all. Or maybe this is a cultural difference. I'm not sure.
But sometimes it's difficult to figure out the rationale or the reasoning behind the change. But what this does give you is confirmation in terms of what it is that people are reacting to.
Exactly.
So the what is very clear, and then you start building a story upon that what. You start building the why on top of that. And one thing I think is important to note is that when you're doing A/B testing, this test wasn't seen by the entire population, so of the users.
Mm-hmm.
There's targeting and segmenting capabilities that we have here at Apptimize that allows you to deliver this test to a smaller portion of that user base.
Absolutely.
While still receiving the statistically valid feedback in terms of how people are reacting to it. And that really speaks to the idea of de-risking the cost of innovation. So if this is a huge flop, it's not a huge flop across all your users.
Exactly.
It's a small portion, a small sample of that population.
Absolutely.
Let's jump over to A. Let's get into the arrangement. To do this, we want to actually show you how we do it here at Apptimize. And I'm just going to get this guy out of the way, and we have a setup already started in the background. What I have here on the right side is an app, sorry, the actual iPhone right
Or
here.
iPod.
iPod, my apologies.
Let's
Some
be
of us,
correct.
yeah, no, some, I can't keep up with the rate of innovation, it seems. And what we have here is just essentially a live version of all the apps that you can achieve, can actually get. And we have a demo, essentially a developer mode for this app. And what we're going to do is walk you through an experience of the arrangement, changing the actual arrangement of an app. Let me just get into a page where we found something that would be maybe interesting to test out if I was managing this app. What I'm going to do is add a quick variant here. I'm just going to make sure that everything, let me refresh. This guy's probably a little stale. All right. Here we go. We're just loading up, and now as you know, with the visual optimizer, essentially anything that you see here, you can pick up and you can start editing. And I have all the properties that I would be editing. I can edit. Since this is just going to be a test of what happens when we're looking at arrangement, let's see these buttons down here on the bottom. If let's say if my main objective, let's go back to the objective. My main objective is to ensure that my users are quickly able to cash up their rewards card or cash up their payment card, and then
Our transaction objective.
a transaction objective. What I want to do is I want to make sure that this auto reload button is going back to this idea of the hierarchy of elements that you see in a page. I want to make sure that this is in a very prominent position, very top of mind. So what I want to do is go to the actual element. I see that, let's look for the size here, rather the location. So I see a 90 by 355, and this guy right here is what? He's at 295, so I'm just gonna grab this, and it's literally this easy. Do watch over here to see what happens. You're gonna see some buttons floating around. And there's that guy. Let me see if I can grab something. 355, I think, was the other one. And bam, there you go. What you've done, you see, is automatically reflected over here in the app. You're able to quickly make these changes. And then, since this is part of our visual optimizer, you're going to actually be able to deploy this to your target segment. We'll help you with the segmenting process, get you set up, and then actually push this out to that test population without redeployment. And that's key because users don't want to keep downloading different versions of the app.
And you don't want to wait 3 weeks for the App Store to approve your new app. And with Apptimize, things like this are super easy. How long did that take you to do?
I mean, I think everyone here saw it.
Yeah, the timer, it took
it was
like
a minute.
Yeah.
And we would be able to see what's happening when I make this change. Is there anything? Is there a negative change? Is there a positive change? But then it goes from a conversation of feelings to a conversation of facts, which is crucial, which is absolutely important.
And that's our example for arrangement.
Absolutely. I think at this point of time, we've covered the basics. Now, those are the tests that every manager should be engaging in. Those are the tests that really everyone should just be exploring, because if you're not, you're leaving money on the table. Those are opportunities that you can create for yourself, and again, you can create it in a matter of minutes. I don't know, and you've already put a lot of work into designing the app, marketing it, working through who knows how many.
And you're getting those users, so it's really important to retain those users, get them to be doing what they want in the app, get them to be doing what you want in the app. And like AbdulAziz said before, we're going to be emailing out this deck to everybody who attended today. So you'll be able to go to that busier deck that we had with the table, and you can pick out all of those things to test. And just remember, just iterate. It's all about iteration.
And we're all about moving fast. We're all about helping our users out as well. So again, we don't want to take too much of your time, but we do want to open it up for Q&A. We know you guys are super busy. So we're going to be sticking around here for the next 10 minutes or so. Happy to address any questions that you might be having right now. And let me just see if any or any even comments or considerations. We're happy to work with you guys and think about what is it that you're trying to achieve and how that actually might be achievable. So thanks guys for coming out. We really appreciate that. And let us know. We're going to be hanging out here, so you guys are definitely free to hang out with us and hear if anyone asks any questions, and we're happy to actually think about those responses on the fly.
Up. Go ahead, type it right into the
So
the chat box.
Marina, we see that you have a question. Please actually type it into the box that you typed in. We have a question. We'll be happy to answer it there.
Oh, and we have another question from John as well, about let's see, what is this about? About our other features. So our features are pretty rich. You can definitely feel free to check out Apptimize.com for anything that we don't mention. But yes, we do have a programmatic interface as well. You can absolutely go in and make tests using programming, using code.
That's right. I mean, what we've only showed you, what we showed you here is just thinking about creating apps. We definitely support you in that process of the creation of the app, the execution in terms of moving it forward and getting it into the actual app store, and then we help you along the rest of that journey. So all the kind of difficult and tiring things that you might be doing, thinking about how do you segment, how do you target. These are all things that we will help you with through our web interface. This idea of how big my test should be. We actually have a tool for all of our users to go in and actually put in the appropriate metrics that fit your app in terms of your user size, in terms of the level of confidence that you want to achieve when performing this app. And what we'll do is tell you not only how many people you maybe need to get that to achieve that number, how many test experiences, but how long you would need to run that app. So one thing that we've seen is sometimes testers will actually run an app. Run a test rather. They'll see some initial uptick in terms of performance, and then they'll close it down. And while it's exciting to see some sort of change, it's really important that you're getting the appropriate level of volume through that test. Because what you don't want to do is to act on a false positive, a false negative. You really want to make sure that what you're seeing from the results are really statistically significant. And we do that for you. We'll run the numbers for you, and we have a huge dashboard that allows you to actually think about the results and understand what's happening behind the test. Oh, I see one more question here around how do we deal with custom attributes in terms of tracking? Absolutely. So anything that your system might, so first of all, we have a suite of attributes that we collect natively. So things around the country in which the app is running in, you can segment by that, the language, the build number. So there's about almost a dozen features that we will actually grab automatically. And if we don't cover something that is important to your app, is important to your success, you can actually integrate Apptimize with your own systems and make sure that those custom attributes, so for example, if your user is male or female, that's something that we can totally support, and all you need to do is install one line of code.
And getting back to Marina's question, her question is about how does Apptimize handle with ProGuard. So Apptimize works just fine with ProGuard. I think this is a slightly more technical question, and Marina, I'm happy to send you a personal email afterwards to connect you with one of our engineers that'll probably be able to answer your question a little bit better than AbdulAziz and I can. So I apologize for not being able to give you a full answer, but we work just fine. But I think you probably want a little bit more detail. So I will follow up with you after this webinar.
Absolutely.
I think that looks like it. And again, everyone, we're going to be, this webinar has been recorded. The video will be available shortly after. You guys will all get a link to the recording, as well as access to the deck that we presented.
Great. Thanks so much, guys. We hope you have a fantastic day. It was really fun talking with you. And if you need anything at all, want to talk about something that we didn't cover today, definitely reach out to Lynn and myself. We're happy to pick up the phone or get online and Skype with you. It will be our pleasure. And keep testing. Bye, guys.